Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Monarch Season 2, Episode 3 video. There are a whole bunch of WTF moments, Easter eggs, and references to the movies, so we'll break it all down. We learned a little bit more about Titan X. They deepened the lore of the Monsterverse a little bit more. The TV show generally has been pretty good for this, Season 1 to Season 2, just because they have so much more time than the movies do to deepen the lore. The episode is titled Secrets, a reference to Keiko and Shaw totally getting it on in the past, but planning to never tell Randa until he ultimately finds one of the letters that Keiko sent to Shaw while he was down in Axis Mundi. Well, they were both technically down in Axis Mundi. If it wasn't clear, the reason why that letter is up in the attic is because Shaw is lost in Axis Mundi during this point in the timeline, which is why the young Hiroshi says, "I miss Uncle Lee." He misses him because he was lost in Axis Mundi. This is also how they explained that the older version of Shaw can still be alive and look this young. Technically, he should look way, way older, as should Keiko, but she was obviously down there for much, much longer. You have to remember that Randa looked like John Goodman during the events of Skull Island, which was just a little over 10 years after that 1962 flashback at the end of the episode. I think the idea of him finding the letter and learning the secret, like the secret didn't stay a secret for very long, also explains his disposition during the events of the Kong Skull Island movie. He was completely unhinged, like super dark in that movie. There are a lot of people that watch Andrew Holmes' performance of the Randa character during Season 1 and now Season 2, and he's so pleasant, like he seems like such a nice dude. People are like, how does he wind up becoming like the John Goodman version by the events of Kong Skull Island in the 1970s? Well, this letter answers a lot of those questions. There were also a number of other references in the episode to different things happening across the timeline. There was also a lot of other references to the events of the Kong Skull Island movie and even Tom Hiddleston's character after the events of Skull Island, so we will unpack that when we get to that part of the episode. But the opening scene starts in the past with Shaw and Keiko right after the end of last week's episode with them trying to avoid being squished by Titan X and the Scarab army. We also get a lot of answers to questions that they set up with Titan X and the Scarabs in the first couple episodes. Notice how its color changes when it approaches them. It turns this pinkish color, kind of like Godzilla's pinkish color too, but not the exact same shade of pink. When you see the Scarabs emitting the same color back and forth, like they're communicating back and forth with those different colors, the motherly sounds coming from Titan X, I believe the idea is that Titan X is a mother and it is the biological mother of the Scarabs, like the Scarabs are just tiny versions of Titan X. You also notice that it makes this really angry sound and the colors change on it as they swim away, like it takes the Scarabs and goes away. So part of the idea is that it only came to the village to pick up its babies, the Scarabs. This also helps frame a lot of what's happening with Titan X in present day during the series. It's probably just doing what it's doing because it wants to protect its babies, and they are a threat, probably because, early theory, something that Apex does because they've just taken over the mission in this episode. Apex's whole thing is that they want to use the Titans to profit, make all kinds of products, technology, which lead to the events of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Kong. Apex's whole MO is pissing off other Titans by trying to take advantage of the Titans. So early theory, Apex is going to get their hands on one of those Scarabs and really, really piss off Titan X, its mother. Probably the next big follow-up question is if those are all baby Titan X's, that means theoretically there's an army of them that could all grow to the same size and threat level as Titan X. So imagine a giant army of Titan X's, and they've already set up the idea that Kong is not powerful enough to take down one Titan X by himself, needs Godzilla's help. So what would happen if there was an army of them that size? There's no way that Godzilla or any of the other Titans would be able to stop them. They would completely dominate the planet. RIP humanity. Pretty much all the other Titans too would probably get killed off.
Let them fight.
So this is also one of the other underlying threats of the series. Obviously they're going to have to resolve this because we don't know anything about Titan X in the future of the movies. So early theory is they do find a way to trap it and the Scarabs back down in Axis Mundi, meaning they'll have to open up another portal and push it back down there somehow, with a little bit of help from Godzilla and Kong together. But then the rest of the village run off Shaw and Keiko trying to take the footage from their camera so they can't alert the world about Titan X and the Scarabs as they retreat back to the Love Shack, as we're calling it in the episode. Just gonna take a quick rest in the Love Shack of secrets. Back in present day, the Monarch ship returns to port. Kate wants to bail because she's feeling so much grief and guilt over what happened the past couple of days, unleashing this massive threat around the world, and kind of hating her father right now too. I was getting a weird vibe between her and Korra. Like, Korra seemed like she was kind of into Kate, but Kate wasn't really detecting it because she was so deep in her grief. I think the idea that in present day they want to set up a love triangle situation with the three younger characters to mirror Shaw's love triangle with Keiko and Randa in the past, and the one with Hiroshi and his two different wives. Technically, though, he explains he didn't have two different wives, he just loved two different women, but you get the idea, three different sets of love triangles. It is almost as if the Monarch TV show has now turned from a Titan TV show into a love triangle TV show. One of the larger ideas with Kate's character, they don't really get into it too deeply in this episode, is that she's kind of trying to figure out where her place is in this new world order with Titan X and Monarch and what's happening, because her brother, Kentaro, has been working with Monarch and their father, but because she's been gone for the last 2 years, she's still trying to figure out where she fits into everything right now. But if you remember, just like her mother in the past, she was the only person who could detect Titan X's little hum resonance signal early, which makes me think that it's something about the female biology, because there's only 2 women that were able to detect it, with 2 dudes that were standing right next to them when it was giving off, and they were not able to detect the frequency, only the women that were standing there. So it just feels like some weird female motherly type of signal, and she'll be like the Titan X whisperer this season in present day. Also explains a couple of the trailer shots where you see her up close with Titan X, why she would be up close, because she'll be able to communicate with it in a way that some of the other characters will not be able to. So a really convenient way for Kate to be useful this season is to be the Titan phone, like the Titan Whisperer. Back in the ship, they have an official planning meeting. They reference Godzilla not being seen recently. Remember, this movie takes place a couple years before King of Monsters, so they're trying not to break the timeline too much in terms of what Godzilla and what Kong were doing at this point in the timeline previously in the movies. Tim mentions Director Barris and the Monarch Board of Directors. The Board of Directors would be a combination of military and government leaders. The government pretty much controls Monarch right now. The whole difference with Apex is that Apex is private money, corporations, tech bros, basically. We get a little bit of Hiroshi bonding with his mother, coming up with a way to lead Titan X away from civilization to try and keep the rest of the world from learning about it, using his Titan phone, which is based on Suzuki, Dr. Suzuki from the past. He winds up making a miniaturized version of his device from the past. My early theory is that they were going to try and use this to bring it back to Skull Island, because we know that there's a portal there and they'll probably need Kong's help, so they'll have to find a way to bring Titan X back to Skull Island using the little Titan bait detector here. Maybe that's still possible. Apex stole his Titan phone later in the episode, so it still exists. They haven't destroyed it, but we will see. But when you look at it, doesn't it look just like Mechagodzilla's eye? So it seems like Apex steals it and then he just puts it inside Mechagodzilla. Then we meet Cliff Curtis, who's playing Jason Trissip, who's Apex's lead man here, trying to hijack their ship in the mission to capture Titan X, likely because Apex would want to dissect and study Titan X the same way they did with King Ghidorah to use its body to create Mechagodzilla. Also, they create all kinds of crazy technobiology using Titan biology, so literally any Titan they can get their hands on, they try. This is also why they don't want Hiroshi using his Titan phone to lead Titan X away, because they want to be able to capture Titan X.
My team's been granted operational control of Outpost 18 on a temporary basis only.
You also notice when they jack their computer gear into the Monarch computers, Apex logos start showing everywhere and the screens glitch. He refers to it by saying they're dropping a Ferrari engine into a Pinto. Apex is supposed to have vastly superior technology to Monarch at the moment, I think to explain why they're capable of creating something as complex as Mechagodzilla earlier in the timeline technically. They're also kind of making it seem like they cast Cliff Curtis to be a foil for Tim this season to push him to become a stronger, more assertive leader, because he kind of walks right over Tim. He also claims the government has given Apex total control over Outpost 18 near Skull Island because the Monarch Board of Directors want Apex's advanced technology and they're just willing to let them on the inside. Well, obviously this is going to bite them in the butt though. There are a couple of references to this too, like the characters all kind of clock what's really happening here. It's very Scorpion and the Frog kind of vibes, like Apex will turn on them at some point. Tim also references Apex being super shady, being in the money-making Titan business, which is what they're doing throughout the timeline, turning Titan biology into things that they can sell. Keiko gets to see what modern-day Tokyo looks like. She hasn't been here for over 50 years, been a little while. They find Monarch put out an APB for her and Shaw's arrest, so they want to arrest them on site. That's why they have to stay on the DL for the rest of the series. Keiko gets to be a proud mama again to her little son who created a miniaturized Suzuki Titan phone and was able to call Godzilla, who she reveres. Like, oh, you were able to call Godzilla? This is amazing. It would be sort of like telling your mother that you created a phone that allowed you to talk to God. What they were talking about, though, was when we saw him first show up during the events of season when Godzilla woke from his nap, and he claims that when that happened, that was actually just an accident, and he was trying to open a rift to Axis Mundi because he'd been searching for a way to save Keiko this whole time. They also referenced the Titan network, their way of traveling across the Earth extremely fast. Previously, the movies made it seem like the Hollow Earth was the Titan's way of traveling around the Earth really fast. Keiko and Shaw go on a mission together again, this time to find the Titan maps at Hiroshi's office, and they use that as a flashback to them in the past, on the run from the villagers, to get to the Love Shack. Shaw is also able to get away with the camera footage itself, the actual, reel. They leave the body behind. But because Monarch in present day didn't know anything about Titan X, I'm assuming that the footage that he captured at some point got lost or something happened to it and they just didn't have it available. So nobody at Monarch winds up knowing about Titan X. Back in present day, Tim gets Korra's help with Titan X and Apex to be his man on the inside to find out what Apex is doing, all their shady stuff. It winds up giving us so many Easter eggs later in the episode. We'll get to that in a second. He also makes it sound like he thinks he's going to get fired on the spot here by the Monarch board, but I think his arc this season is all about taking more authority, like being more assertive inside the Monarch organization. So my assumption is that if he survives, he will continue with Monarch, like to be a more important person inside the organization heading into Season 3. He says his big worry is that Apex is going to start another G-Day, which is a reference to Godzilla vs. Kong and Mechagodzilla, because they do wind up creating another G-Day. He is definitely right on the money. Apex is going to do something really bad. When Korra references having something that Apex wants, and that's how she gets the job there, like why they want her so badly, it's the algorithm that she has that she deleted off of their servers but saved her own copy of last season. Also, early theory, one of the algorithms, some of the programming that Apex uses to create Mechagodzilla too.
And in that dream, I saw one thing.
Now you also kind of wonder if Mechagodzilla went off the rails and broke his programming and turned on Apex during the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. Was Korra also responsible for that, like Galen Erso in Rogue One with the Death Star in the exhaust port, building in a weakness to purposely help take down the Empire or Apex in this situation? Like maybe Korra is responsible for Mechagodzilla going off the rails during Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm going to help you build your giant Mechagodzilla, but it's going to go off the rails and destroy all of you. Talk about getting her sweet, sweet revenge. Kate then goes back to her mother's finally tells her what happened. There were so many people mentioning after this last week that she came from Axis Mundi after being gone for 2 years, but nobody in the room bothered to tell her mother that she was still alive. Like, oh, by the way, your daughter who's been missing for 2 years is back. She sees pictures of her mother when she was younger, of her with her father Hiroshi when he was younger, and the pictures with her boyfriend that she got married to in the 2-year time jump that she referenced during season 1, like, oh, he's waiting for me to be ready, so they are now ready, like they've been married for a little while. There are a couple references to Axis Mundi, so I think her mother and her boyfriend know a little bit about what happened, but not everything about Titan X. Like, she doesn't tell them that she unwittingly released this giant Titan. Then we go to Hiroshi's office and they joke about him being a mess, the way that Randa was a mess. She's shocked to learn about Kate and Kentaro having different mothers and Hiroshi having 2 families. There are then a couple secrets that come out, like the whole episode is all about secrets coming out, which they also use for another flashback to Keiko and Shaw getting it on in the past, also talking about almost kissing and him trying to push her off, but then them ultimately getting together, like they really did get it on. We jump back to present day, and Kate kind of goes off the rails for the rest of the episode. It almost seems like she just wants to give up, and she's ready to die. Like she doesn't care if Titan X destroys the world, there's another G-Day. Who cares? Who cares? It's all my fault. Like she really does think that she deserves to die and just wants to welcome death. Korra then manages to convince Brenda to give her that job at Apex again, rehire her, mostly because they need her programming skills in the algorithm so badly, and they keep playing Apex up like they're dedicated to saving humanity using Titan biology, like change the world, but really they only care about making money and controlling the world using Titans, like Mechagodzilla. After they used it to destroy the other Titans, if it had survived, they would have just used it to dominate the world too. So pretty much Apex is like any other evil giant corporation. There's a real brief moment where Hiroshi scolds Kentaro about him and Kate helping each other because they're family. Like, no, we need to work on this together as a family. More family drama, setting up more twists in future episodes. Shaw then leaves with Kentaro so that Keiko and Hiroshi can have another mother-son chat and catch up, make up for lost time, and he finally comes clean over a lot of his resentment, his abandonment issues. He also explains why Randa and Shaw were not great parents either, why they were not around. There are a couple explainers for that, like they're not completely justified, but there are some ways to explain why they weren't around. And to be fair to her, even though she questions him about having the two families, she doesn't get super judgy with him. When he says he gave in to what his heart wanted and allowed himself to love the two different women, that's also meant to be a comp to Keiko being in love with both Shaw and Randa. Obviously ironic because he says, "You would never understand, mother, loving two people," as they flash back to the scene of her getting it on with Shaw. She definitely understands. One of the other details, too, is that in the past, when they're in the process of getting it on, Shaw does admit his feelings that he loves Keiko. She also later admits to loving him as well, too. So both of them have known that they loved each other these past many, many years, with her being trapped and him being trapped for a little while and then being back on the planet. Then we go back to core at Apex and we get a ton of Easter eggs for all the Monsterverse movies, starting through the timeline. So Castle Bravo, Bikini Atoll in 1954 was Monarch Season 1 when they set the bomb off trying to blow up Godzilla on the beach. Skull Island in 1973 was the events of the Kong Skull Island movie, so Apex was there. James Conrad in London 1979 is Tom Hiddleston's character after the events of Kong Skull Island. Maybe we'll see him in the Shaw spin-off series that takes place during the Cold War. Speaking of which, Red Monarch in the Soviet Union in 1984 is an Easter egg for the Shaw spin-off that they're working on, which is going to be set during the Cold War era in the Soviets trying to use a Titan to win the Cold War. A. Brooks on Skull Island in 2012 is a reference to the Monsterverse comics. There are Monsterverse comics that are canon to the TV show and the movies. If you want to read some of the extra tie-in comics, you don't have to, but they're out there. A. Brooks is the son of Houston Brooks from Skull Island and King of the Monsters. Outpost 32 in Antarctica in 2016 is actually King Ghidorah before the events of Godzilla, King of Monsters, and obviously Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Kong. So the idea is these are Apex computers, so this is setting up the idea that Apex has learned that King Ghidorah is in Antarctica, and they started their plan to slowly unleash it. You have to picture Charles Dance getting ready to go rogue here too. There were some rogue elements at play during the events of Godzilla, King of Monsters. Like Apex themselves didn't specifically want to unleash Ghidorah on the world. They just wanted to use King Ghidorah to study it and profit off of it and eventually use it to develop their technology, which led to Mechagodzilla. So basically this whole computer database of files that Apex has is like all the evil things that Apex has done, hunting down Titans to use them for their projects. She then finds out that Apex has been tracking Kentaro, Keiko, and Hiroshi with the live feed, breaking a bunch of privacy laws, and is able to see them literally like Apex is stealing the Titan phone before they can actually lead Titan X away from civilization. This is also why the Monarch alert goes off, because Titan X then swims closer to the shore before they can lead it away, because Apex wants it closer so they can capture it and monetize it. When we flash back to Keiko and Shaw the morning after, they have the awkward conversation about how they're going to address it going next, and right on cue, a little too convenient, Randa shows up in the river right next to them, like, oh, by the way, we were about to talk about this until my other guy showed up. To be fair, she does write him the letter, which he gets drunk reading later and then winds up in the hands of Randa later, learning their secret, that she does love Shaw, but they're not going to do anything about their feelings for each other because she's already chosen to be with Randa and she doesn't want to wreck that, and so that's just going to be the way things are going to be going forward. One of the key details, though, is that she says in another lifetime, maybe in the next life, we'll be together, and conveniently, in present day, they're both around, like they're both healthy individuals, even though they're not the exact same biological age anymore. Technically, they're still the same age. But also, Randa died a long time ago, so he hasn't been in the picture for a long time, so the path for the two of them being together is now clear. The show really wants you to think that in present day, they're going to get back together. But here's the thing, do you think they're trying to misdirect us and they're going to pull the rug out from under them? We go back to present day, and Hiroshi then has it out with Keiko over all of his abandonment issues, reveals why he resents Randa and Shaw a little bit. They send him to live with Keiko's mother, his grandmother, when he was 11, and we flash back to the 1962 point in their home with Randa, who seemed like a pretty decent father at the time. with a young Hiroshi before he'd been sent to live with his grandmother, saying that he misses Shaw because this is 1962. This was like right after Shaw got stuck in Axis Mundi, so that's why he's not around. Randa then finds Keiko's letter to Shaw, and at least the show is implying that that's what drove him to send Hiroshi to live with his grandmother and drove him deeper into this obsessive way into his work to eventually turn into the John Goodman version of the character that you see in the Kong Skull Island movie, who's just completely unhinged.
Men go to war in search of something, Mr. Conrad.
So you can let me know in the comments, do you think like right after reading this letter, Randa turns super, super dark? Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments, and let me know if you do want me to continue doing weekly episode videos. What I'll do is just wait to see how this video performs. If people are digging the series, then I'll continue to do it week to week. But we have Invincible Season 4 episodes starting next week, then Daredevil Born Again Season 2 episodes right after that, then The Boys Season 5 episodes right after that. So I'm not totally sure that I can do very detailed analysis videos for 4 different series at the same time. So if I have to, I will let people know if I'm going to drop the Monarch series for like the middle of the run, but I'll at least try to do a video for the finale if that does wind up happening. Everybody click here for all my Godzilla and Kong Supernova and Monarch episodes, and click here for my brand new Boys Season 5 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.